Good morning. Intelligence operatives confirm that target T6 is under enemy attack. Your orders are to secure this food at any cost. Carry on.
Hello and welcome back to another retro game. Today we are talking about BattleBugs, a tactical game developed by Epyx and published by Sierra, which was a one-time collaboration between those two companies. In a nutshell, you command a handful of insects and spiders and fight over food. You either have to destroy all enemy forces or you have to capture the food by raising flags when you're the only one standing near it. The game plays out in real time, but you can always pause and you can even issue commands while the game is paused. So it's not a very hectic game, but the time limit can be quite challenging. The structure of the game is quite simple. You just have your linear campaign where you play mission after mission, and you got a whole lot of 56 missions to complete with a variety of 22 different units that you unlock throughout the campaign. Every mission is its own scenario where you have predefined troops and goals and enemies, so it oftentimes almost feels like a puzzle game. Sometimes it's very obvious how you're supposed to solve the missions, especially because the units have very clear strengths and weaknesses and special abilities. And then some missions are a bit more chaotic, where you have to really try to just win the battle. And something special that you can see right now in the video is the multiplayer mode, which is a kind of hot seat mode, but it's also a bit like chess, so everybody has a limited amount of time they can spend issuing orders, while the gameplay is still played out in real time for both teams at once. I have very fond memories playing this against a friend, and it's also awesome that you can select all the missions that you play in single player and just play them against each other. Now let's talk about the presentation. I think it's amazing. The game has a very unique look, which comes from the great art direction on the one hand, and also probably because of the limitations that the game only uses 16 colors at a time to display higher resolutions. With a clever use of dithering, which mixes different colors in a pattern, and the vibrant color palette, the game really comes to life. The unit designs are also exceptionally funny, while being distinct enough to be very readable. For the soundtrack, I don't think I have to say a lot. You're already listening to it and it's just amazing. It's the perfect mix of these military themes combined with the quirky and funny tunes. I just love it. And there are so many great details in the user interface and everywhere on each screen. The creativity here is really off the charts and underlines the setting perfectly. So, am I crazy that I like this game so much? Well, critics agree at least. For the most part, the game scored quite positive reviews, even though some, funnily enough, were complaining that the 16-color graphics looked a bit out of date. But yeah, I guess at that time there was no real nostalgia for it and people were not really charmed by this kind of look. Something I noticed was that most reviews I've seen were from Europe, so I wonder if the US release maybe somehow got botched. If you have any information on this, I would be really interested. Just write them in the comments below, or maybe there was just not enough marketing or whatever. Because commercially the game was probably a flop because it was the last game that Epyx developed. And yeah, you don't hear many people talk about it nowadays, which is a shame in my opinion. It seems like the time they released it was right. It was just right before the big real-time strategy craze, and there were enough PC gamers at that time as well, but maybe the quite unique and special scenario with the insects didn't really caught on, or it was the presentation that people felt that it was looking dated. Now, if you liked the video so far, please consider giving it a like, and if you want to see more retro video games in the future, then maybe just subscribe to the channel and ring the bell to get notified when a new video is up. Is the game perfect then? No, obviously there are some flaws. Mainly to me it was the high difficulty can sometimes be very frustrating, especially if you actually more or less solve the puzzle and you know what you do, but you fail at the execution of it, because sometimes with a harsh time limit and the difficulty in general, you really have to be very precise with giving commands and moving your units around, and that at times can be a bit frustrating. And later on in some missions it's a bit hard to understand why you actually failed the mission. The feedback is not so obvious when there's a lot going on, but yeah, in general it still works out most of the time. Then a bit higher production value would have been appreciated. The presentation between the missions is funny at first, but it's very repetitive. There is no real story, there are no cutscenes, and you really don't feel attached to your insects more than you could have been maybe. And I feel that the scenario would have provided a lot of great content there, which unfortunately the game missed out. On the other hand, I don't feel like the game wants to be anything else than just a pack of scenarios and puzzles that you play through. So it's very condensed and it's very clean and it's not convoluted in any way. So the vision is really clear, the focus of the game is clear and works well, but maybe for a full price game that was not enough. So the big question at the end, would I recommend playing BattleBugs today? Yes, absolutely. It's actually still very enjoyable. The user interface works, the combat mechanics work, it's easy to get into, you don't have to read through big manuals or anything. I think it still looks great, but maybe that's up to taste. But if you haven't played it and you're into just some short missions, some scenarios where you really want to strain your brain a bit, then I would say give it a go, try it out, especially if you're into tactical or puzzle games. And that has been BattleBugs for you. I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope to see you back again soon. See ya!